Welcome to the Dork Forest. Jackie and her pals will never bore us. Shameless confessions
about our obsession
will make us laugh and smile. So let's explore the Dork Forest and dork out for a while.
Hello and welcome to the Dork Forest. It's me, Jackie Cation. You know the websites, JackieCation.com, DorkForest.com, TheDorkForest.com if you like a determiner. You can donate to the show using PayPal or Venmo. You go to the websites, you find out where I'm doing stand-up comedy. Rangers of the Dork Forest, I love you dearly, and thank you so much. Feel free to go to Apple, rate and review the show. 5 stars would be great. Let's do the credits. Mike Ruekberg sang and wrote that song that you just heard, and he will be singing at the end, the Mexican Hat Dance. Patrick Brady is going to fix this audio and video, and we thank all the stars for that. Let's get into the show. Hi, Rangers. It's me, Jackie Cation, in my garage, talking with a man that I met face-to-face for the first time probably 1 month ago, instrumental in getting me to work at his movie theater turned live space, the Time Theater in Oshkosh, Wisconsin. Phil Krause. Welcome to the welcome to the family. Welcome to the show, the Dork Forest.
Yeah, hi Jackie. Glad to be here.
There you go. It happened. I introduced you. The TimeCommunityTheater.com is in Oshkosh, and it is on a street that has so many little hipster moments that I enjoyed myself thoroughly. I went to the comic book store. I went to the DVD store. I went everywhere that you would have wanted to go if you lived there. I went to the coffee shop. And then I went across the street and I had a hamburger. So
they took you to bar 430?
I think I was at bar 430 with my friends who are from Oshkosh. I was just in town to visit my dad, to look at him as he ages, as we all go, to go look at people. And then you said, it's too bad. What's his face didn't get you in here. And I said, yeah, that is too bad, Lyle. And then moments later, I get an email from Lyle, the nicest guy on the planet, saying, do you want to come? And it happened. We put a show together in just 2 weeks.
Lyle's at foxvalleycomedy.com, and you can see a bunch of stuff he does all over the Fox Valley.
Fox Valley, guys, home of Houdini, yes?
Yeah, our spot, tap rooms, etc.
Right. Fox Valley Comedy is Lyle's, that's Lyle's baby. And it's great. And Lyle's great. And Phil's great. And Phil's Dorkdom that we're going to talk about is a UK TV show, which I see your notes. There's other countries have it as well. Taskmaster?
Yeah. Taskmaster. There's a New Zealand version and an Australian version that I've watched a lot of.
It doesn't seem to be
French Canadian version.
There doesn't seem to be, it's not streaming anywhere except YouTube.
Not to my knowledge, although I bet people in those other countries we've mentioned have it on their, big
well, how did you watch it?
Or whatever. So we've always been, at our house, we've always been interested in chat shows, which, there's a lot more of in the UK. QI and Mock the Week and What I Lie to You and stuff like that. There's a few that aren't that big. And then those folks are at least the first wave of contestants on Taskmaster. So I'm sure during the pandemic, like everyone else who loves Taskmaster, we started watching. And immediately we were hooked because it had a lot of people we already liked. And then some people we'd never seen. And one of the things about Taskmaster is it gives everybody a real good chance to perform comedy for you and to be funny, even though you're not already familiar with them,
Okay, so I'll tell you, here's me name dropping. I first heard of Taskmaster when Matt Fraction, amazing comic book writer.
Oh, sure.
Said that I should watch that. That was something we were just hanging out, and he was like, oh, my favorite show is Taskmaster. And I was like, and I thought he meant the Marvel, because he's a Marvel comic book writer. I thought it was the Marvel comic book guy who wears the mask, who is portrayed by a woman in the Black Widow movie, but and can be anything because it's a comic book.
Skull-faced man.
Yep. Skullface copycat who could copy all the things that everybody else does. But that is not what this is. Taskmaster is some sort of, there are tasks.
So what they do is they get five comedians, almost always comedians or comedic actors. They've thrown in some radio people now and then, and they do a special called New Year's Treat, where it's not strictly comedians, where it's just a one-off. But we can double back to that. So 5 people each go to their location, which they call the Taskmaster house, and then they film tasks. I have what do I have written down?
Wait, and then are they doing this? Are the 5 contestants doing the same tasks simultaneously, or are they filming them?
Almost always they're doing it like, Wednesday will be James Acaster, and then Thursday will be Carrie Godleyman, or what?
Okay.
And then
how long is the show?
It's 10 episodes, and the UK version is an hour.
It's
10 episodes is a season.
Okay, and each episode is an hour, and so I'm sorry to have to unpack this from the very beginning, but let's do it. These 5 comics or these 5 players are given the same task. Each of them have to do the same thing, and then they go off and do it. They don't do it on set. They sometimes, or they do, or they have. Depends what the task is.
So let me outline what a typical show looks like.
Okay.
So it's a sound stage somewhere in the UK. I think it's at their big studios where they also film, James Bond movies and X-Men movies and all the rest. But it's a sound stage. There's an audience, and there's the 2 people. The creator of the show, Alex Horn, he plays the Taskmaster's assistant, and then Greg Davies, who is the Taskmaster, he assigns points. Greg came up a couple weeks ago on your show when they were talking about The Cleaner. A comedian was talking about her favorite UK shows, and I think she mentioned The Cleaner. That's Greg Davies.
Okay, that's Greg Davies. Okay.
In-betweeners, too, you can see on American TV. Anyway, that's him. So then 5 comedians are sitting across from them by a bit, and then every show starts with the prize task where they bring in a thing that fits the theme of the day. I wrote down a prize task. Yeah. So the example I gave for a prize task is best thing to bring on a long car journey. And that was season 14, I think, which has Darryl Breen. You might know.
Let me just ask what word you're saying. It's a prize task?
Yeah, prize task. So they bring in a thing.
Each comic brings in a thing.
Each comic brings in a thing, and this is the thing. The one I sent you was best thing to bring on a long car task. A guy named Munya Chihuahua brings like a coordination thing.
Oh, like the cup and the ball, or?
Yeah, okay. I think it's like a magnetic cup and ball sort of. And he didn't do very well with that prize.
Wait, are they? Is there some fight? But do you get points for the thing that you bring in from home?
Yes,
that's one of the tasks.
So
okay,
one of the tasks every show is a prize task, and you get a prize for bringing in the thing best suited to that task. Sarah Milliken won for that particular prize for bringing in an escape hammer, with the little thing to cut your seatbelt and to smash your windshield if you crash your car.
Oh, okay.
And then the middle task was a little sailor hat that said ahoy. So, but that's the start of every show. They go to a prize task, and then
the stuff they bring.
They get usually 1 to 5 points. What
happens to the stuff at the end of the show? Does someone get to keep it? Why did I think
technically the winner of each episode gets to keep the thing, but they may or may not actually keep the thing because it may or may not be a thing that they would ever want in their life.
Right.
And sometimes it's an ephemeral thing, like I I
An
don't know.
emotion?
One of them, the prize task was best noise, and one of the contestants hired an opera singer to sing the winner's name.
Oh,
So you can't
all
bring a
right.
person home, but you can bring them.
You can't, but you'll have that memory.
Yeah. And then, so when they're done with the prize task, getting 1 to 5 points, they usually go to a filmed task. And filmed tasks come in 2 categories. And that's either a group task, where the 5 people are split up into a group of 2 and a group of 3. And then they'll have those folks work together on a task, or they'll go to an individual task and show and show the 5 people trying to do one individual thing.
Okay. And how many seasons of this are there?
So we are right now in the 2nd episode of the 16th UK season.
Okay.
There's 4 New Zealand seasons, 1 Australian, I think a couple in Portugal and a couple in Spain. I might be making up Spain.
You know what? So wait, are they in like New Zealand and Australia and Portugal? Are they using comedians as their guests there too?
I think so. Although, so one of the things I wrote down was Taskmaster.
Know in your heart that I haven't read any of your notes. I did indeed print them. Good for me.
Okay,
but I wanted to hear it from you. How much Phil Krause, enjoy the TV show Taskmaster?
Just for what it's worth, I'm Phil Krause, rhymes with lousy. Phil Krause, that rhymes with mouse.
Look what I did. Krause.
Krause. I think a German person would say Krause, but you know.
Right, but Krause. All right, I'm in.
So
Krause. Longy.
You have professed your love for Deadlock, I believe.
Yes.
And
the Australian mystery series, 1 season. Yes.
I believe we call it a murder comedy in our house.
Okay.
So Abby from that Big Eyes is on the 1st season of Taskmaster Australia.
Okay.
And Eddie is Eddie Red
is also on it.
Taskmaster New Zealand. She was on the 1st season. I think she won, but I watched maybe 4 out of 10 of those. So there's a Jackie can relate to Taskmaster fact is.
Oh, right. You had some crossover. You were like, you've mentioned these people. These people were on Taskmaster. Yeah. I did read that far into your notes.
Yeah. So that is
Bridget Christie, who's married to my friend Stuart Lee.
Yeah. Bridget Christie is on maybe season 13, 12 or 13. Don't quote me. And Bridget is one of the most interesting contestants. She kind of either comes in first or last on almost every film task. She's either like knocking it out of the park or she doesn't understand the concept at all.
Right.
And does a bewildering, infuriating thing. Or she one of the tasks I wrote down as an example of a good thing was, I think the tasks all have. So the task is recreate a accurate and emotional scene from history with these 2 traffic cones. So they gave them 2 traffic cones, whatever, 2 feet high or whatever a traffic cone is.
Okay, I will try to watch this again. Okay.
She got a stuffed dog from the house and a pot lid, and then there's obviously editing and sound to put this in. But then she recorded a thing about Laika, the space dog from the Soviet space program.
Yeah.
That is just beautiful and heartbreaking and just a little bit funny. And then at the end, she didn't know that Laika died, so she had this huge emotional reaction. So it was this whole thing. And then other people, one guy, that particular task, one guy covered it with cotton balls. He covered both of them with cotton balls, and he said it's Dolly the sheep.
Ah,
Somebody else like filled them with sand and made like a Pyramids of Egypt scene.
okay.
And
All
then I'm
right.
trying. There's two that I'm forgetting from that bit, but you take it. So
You
they're
just take
given some.
two
They're
cones
given
and recreate some historical moment.
right.
I have to say that there is an episode of The Dork Forest with a Seattle comic whose name is escaping me. All I remember is that his two dorkdoms were the Beatles and the
Okay.
and the Diary of Anne Frank.
Oh
And
boy.
I don't know why I used to let people just pick two things unrelated, and so it's an earlier season of The Dork
Sure.
Forest,
Sure.
and he said he was listening to the Diary of Anne Frank on a book on tape as he went between gigs, and he did not know that she died at the end,
Oh boy.
and so he was sobbing at the end of this book before he had to go do his. He was like, "Who would kill a 16-year-old?" And you're like, Nazis
No,
would.
the Nazis.
Yeah, you're gonna see a pattern. And yeah, for her not to know that the dog dies is heartbreakingly hilarious. And the fact
Yeah.
that she chose the dog anyway,
Right.
that's so
Well,
weird.
it was supposed to be emotional, and it was.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So probably she got 5 points for that one instead of 1 point.
Okay.
So
So,
then,
the
so that's a film
16 years
task.
versus 4 years in New Zealand and 1 year in Australia.
I think they might do two. I think they
But
might do more
but the
two
UK
seasons a year,
one,
but yeah,
it's got to be just huge and forever. And so if you go back like 2007,
2015 is the first season, I think.
okay.
So I think they do 2 a year. But don't quote me.
No. This is just a TV show. Now, how do you watch it? Do you watch it on YouTube?
Mostly on YouTube. If you want to put folks in touch with me to give them
So
how
maybe.
to get ones under the
Oh,
table, but
that's that.
I can send
This
them
is
that.
not. There's you guys. The Dork Forest Rangers of the Dork Forest have their own. They have their own skidball ways of accessing things in other
But
countries.
you could
But it is
use a VPN. You could use a VPN to watch it as in UK.
okay.
And
Phil
then
Krause, by the way, a completely legal dude, would never.
Yep.
And it would be nice if it were a streaming though, because just think of the quality.
Yeah.
It's probably
but
better than your audio quality right now.
The current
which is
16,
just okay. Yep.
Sorry. The current season,
that's
season
okay.
16, they like show it on a Thursday night in the UK, and then it's available Friday night in America. Because so many people were pirating it anyway that they were just like, we might as well get 35 cents from Sticker Mule or whatever.
Okay.
So you can watch the current season right away.
Okay.
And there's a
That's
lot
kind
of
exciting.
there's a lot of seasons up on YouTube, and sometimes they disappear and then they come back. You can pay them. They have their own streaming service called Taskmaster Plus, possibly.
If it isn't called Taskmaster Plus, it should be called Taskmaster Plus.
It might
Paramount
be Taskmaster
Plus.
Max Plus. I don't know.
Yeah.
But they are. You can pay them like $6.99 a month, and you get all the versions of Taskmaster from all the countries.
Oh, and you could just spend several months watching that and then be done, and then,
And then they make a new one.
They will have gotten $30 or whatever, and
right.
Which is better than nothing, I suppose. Right. And then you will forget that you're paying them $6.99, and you will continue to pay them that for 2 years, and then they will be psyched.
That is how they do it. So that's starts with a prize task, goes to film tasks, and then at the end of this, they do a stunt to show a task on stage where it's the 5 of them competing against each other. To get more points from 1 to 5. So then,
and is that arbitrary? Does Greg Davies pick arbitrarily?
There are tasks and games that are subjective, where it's his judgment as to what's best, and then there's tasks and games that's like, fastest time wins. Most
okay. Yeah, that
most
makes
XYZ wins. So and then sometimes people break the rules and then they get disqualified and they get no
sure.
points or a very low amount of points. So that happens.
Okay. That is
Um,
interesting. Okay, so what you've told me so far, the winner gets a trophy, and probably all careers are boosted by the exposure, and hopefully they get sort of just the
I'm,
regular money that you get for being on
I'm sure
television.
I'm sure they're paid. I'm
You
sure
know,
they're
the
paid fairly well.
$1,100 or $1,400 you get for
Right.
being on a TV show. So so they okay, so they get days to film these tasks at a Taskmaster house. And then
Right.
months later, they get together in the studio and talk about the tasks and then
Yes.
compete in live tasks. And
That
the winner
is.
gets a trophy and probably and they get all the stuff that people bring,
They do get all the stuff people bring
or
if they want.
if they want to, if
Yeah.
they want it.
If they're the winner of the night.
And
So you
then the
could
live
lose.
task, yep.
Yeah, the live task at the end of the show is usually a weird stunt. I've copied a couple for our big. We do Rocky Horror Picture Show at the time. We were getting ready for that a couple weeks after you were there. And
Okay.
I've done a couple of games when people were unlucky enough to have me as the host for their Rocky Horror Picture Show festivities. With all of this energy, you can imagine matches so well to like
Bill Krause,
20
nobody
22
says
year olds in
drag.
stockings.
Yes.
Yeah, I do dress up as Brad, but that's very easy.
Right. That's the sort of the most straight lined.
Oh yeah,
But
I mean, I
so
might have done it
okay,
anyway.
you have essentially the best live task. You have
Yeah,
several
so like
choices that you've
like
picked.
the ones I've reproduced because they are very cheap include but are not limited to sit in this chair for 100 seconds. You have to sit on
Ooh.
your hands so you're not looking at your watch. One person stood
Oh,
up almost immediately, but that
oh,
was the
you
same
have
on
to
the
try
show.
to guess how long
How
100
much
seconds
100
is.
seconds is? And when we said because
This
Rocky
is a
Horror Picture,
TV show. This is
yes.
a TV show where they're like, okay, what about this?
And then the other game I reproduced was Grape Bluff, where we give you a grape and you have to bluff me whether it's in your hand or in your mouth we asked the questions. I don't remember how they did it on the show.
Yeah. I don't know. That's insane. That's the you're just sitting okay. You're just like, okay, how much
Here-
ink is in this pen? I mean, literally it can be genuinely anything.
It could
Like
be anything. I told you those two because that cost
they're
me A, putting chairs
right,
on the
they're
stage,
repeatable.
and then B,
Yes.
a thing of grapes. Some of them are very elaborate. Like the one I sent you was sausage or finger, where they gave everybody a glove that had four or five, I don't remember, hot dogs sticking out of the glove. And they had their
Okay.
other hand was free, and then they would have to have another contestant turn around. They would poke them with a sausage or a finger, and then that person would have to guess whether they were being poked with a sausage or a finger.
That's insane. What? And what if so
I believe the person
just
who guessed correctly the most won 5 points. And then the first person
Yeah.
out got 1 point, and second out 2, and so on down the line to 5.
You've been touched with raw hot dogs.
Right.
Yeah.
Sausage or finger.
And
Everybody says
picture of a horse or a lamp. What is that one?
So I should have looked it up. I didn't. That's the same season. There's a comedian called Joe Brand. You might have. She's
Sure.
She's kind of an elder statesman. So the host Greg was looking at. He had I think it was on like a
ping pong paddle, let's say, and he would flip it so
Okay.
you couldn't see it. And then one side was a horse and the other side was a laminator. Laminator is a joke from another season. They do an in joke sometimes. So he
What
was
is a
looking at a horse.
laminator? Are you talking about a machine that laminates things?
Yeah, the machine that laminates. For Taskmaster fans, the king of stationery.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
So one side of the paddle has a horse on it. One has
The other side has
the other side has a
laminator.
laminator machine. Okay.
And then Joe Brand guessed correctly 14, 15, 17 times in a row. Just like
what? Just just new.
She was just like
somehow
horse, laminator, horse, laminator, laminator. And she so maybe you could talk about the general makeup of the 5 people. There's almost always one. There's almost always one kind of elder statesman comedian, someone who's a little more established.
Okay.
And then the rest are younger ones, and they always. I don't know how as a white guy to say it, but there's always someone who isn't white on every season.
That's how you say it. There's always someone who isn't just one, or do they try to? Do they ever get more than one woman, or more than one not white?
It started out the first 4 seasons. There was maybe just one woman and non-white, and then the 5th season was 2 women, and then recent seasons have been 3 women, and
they realized that they were just doing 1 and 1, and then there was still work for 3 white guys.
It was a little bit, when they started out in 2015, the people they wanted to get on were maybe slightly more, 32-year-old white guys.
Oh, and the selection of 32 to 42-year-old white guys is incredible. There's a broad, wide pool.
Right.
And it doesn't mean, the Dork Forest, 1 year, and it was just not long ago. Someone was like, well, what's your breakdown of how many straight white guys you have to everybody else? And I was like, oh, I bet you it isn't good. Yes. And this is going to be 2 weeks in a row. Right. Well, here's the thing about being on the Dork Forest, you guys. Squeaky wheel gets the grease because I'm so busy that you have to remind me that you want to be on the show. And guess who was raised to squeak? Straight white guys raised to squeak, my friends.
Yeah.
And so I do tend to, but I make an effort now to frickin' mix it up because and it still falls by the wayside. So hey, everybody out there,
Canadians on and pretend that counts.
I just did have a Canadian guy on, and he was great. What did he talk? It might have been last week. Good for me.
Oh, Minister Faust?
Anyway, it was Minister Faust. Yeah. He's Canadian, and he talked about, he was great. He talked about anime.
I've read several of his novels.
Have you? Have you read a couple of his books?
Yeah.
How are they?
If I had to name them, I'd lose that bet, but kind of.
Did you enjoy them at the time? Yeah.
Yes. Very, very slightly gritty superhero pastiches were what I read of his.
Okay. Yeah. He told me that he's got a new book out and that he would send it to me. And I, of course, have been down a rabbit hole of 13 other tasks and have not had a chance to do it. Plus, I have a stack like this of books that are next. So, but his could be on that stack. He wouldn't mind it. MinisterFaust.com. Anyway, so this show, Taskmaster. So Fern, wait, I'm on the next page. So there's a great prize task.
Prize task. What prize task?
Favorite film tasks include Song for a Stranger. What is that one?
Song for a Stranger was from the 5th season. It's Mark Watson and Nish Kumar as one team. They met a woman named Rosalind. The other team got to meet her too, of course. The other team that season is Aisling B., Sally Phillips, and Bob Mortimer. So
Oh,
they meet a stranger. They get to ask her questions, and then they have to write a song and perform it for her. Like they've got 10 minutes to ask her questions. Let's say 20 minutes to write a song, and then they perform it.
And so if they're separate teams, do they meet the same woman?
They met the same woman.
And her name was Rosalind.
Rosalind. Yeah. You'll have to I'll have to ask, can I I'm not gonna swear on this, but
you can
when people okay. So the song for a stranger by the team of two, which is Mark and Nish, who had been, let's say, underdogs in the show. They did such a great job. Mark is playing drums and Nish is playing guitar, and they did great at that. And the song is I think it's called You're Always Doing Cool Stuff. And basically everything they asked her, she's doing. Like she played in a chamber orchestra. She judged and ran track.
Okay.
She had a couple kids and a husband, and they asked her stuff about that. And basically the song was like kind of like they had a crush on her and she's always doing such cool stuff. But it was just this very sweet, high quality song. The other three do a song called Rosalind is a Fucking Nightmare, which they asked her similar questions, but they turned it into you're a piece of crap. And she claims to like both songs.
Okay. Well, I mean, the thing is to have anybody sing anything about you sounds incredibly flattering. And and they had to pick. I wonder if they're told to pick different angles, right?
I'm sure they are not, but I'm also, there's producers and directors, so I'm sure if
there's got to be a producer out there who's listening to both, going, and there might be some guidance, but almost probably none. Plus, the stakes are so low. You're getting a trophy.
I've heard there's stuff on the New Zealand one that producers had to put a kibosh to.
Oh.
But I have not heard the same thing about the UK one. And of course, there's more than one podcast from the production company, so you do get some inside baseball on all this stuff.
Oh, there's podcasts about this show.
There's two podcasts.
Why wouldn't there be? Oh my God. And what are they called? What are they called? I wonder.
Well, there's Taskmaster : the podcast.
Okay.
And that's hosted by a former season winner. He's season 9 winner, Ed Gamble. He's got a podcast with another contestant called Off Menu. That's kind of like one of the top 3 podcasts in the world, or in the UK at least. But this podcast, every time there's a new episode, they kind of get together with somebody and talk about it. Then there's the People's Podcast with the guy who makes. There's a Taskmaster fan who's like, by the way, you know that contestants that leave the door open for a task filmed in the yard always win, 22% more of the time than the people who close the door or whatever.
Oh, he's a dork. So it's his dorkdom. He's a full on, like, even actually more so.
Yes, more than you or I. Though we will correct people that Taskmaster, the comic book character, is Marvel.
The People's Podcast sounds better. The first podcast sounds like it's probably run by comics who you'll find out later use their powers for ill. But you don't know. You can't ever. You can't. I hope not. We always hope not, right? I always hope that you have a very popular podcast and you're not a douche with your weird podcasting power.
From what I know about them, they're fine.
Oh, good. So. That's good to hear. And so there's 2 podcasts, and there's 5 contestants, and so there's
the host.
I know. Yeah. I was good. Here's one of the questions I had was that I had heard that there was an American version, but the person running it didn't really get it. Like the host. So, was it Kamau?
No, Ron Funches that a little, I think, was on there. Or,
he was on it, but he wasn't one of the Taskmaster valet guys, was he?
the host, Alex Horn, who created the show, was the assistant on the American show as well. And then Reggie Watts
That's right. It was Reggie
the
Watts.
Was the American Taskmaster. Lisa Lampanelli was on it.
Ron Funches.
A lady from the Righteous Gemstones, I think.
Okay.
And
but it didn't work because what I heard was that Reggie came at it from a weird angle and he wasn't course corrected.
I want to say to me, the biggest flaw between the two was the UK version, and all the international versions that I know of anyway are an hour or 45 minutes, whatever. And the American version was half an hour. And so they had to boil everything down. Like the American prize task segment was one person would bring in one thing and talk about it, and then the winner of that episode would get that thing. And it was always sort of like there was a DJ guy and he brought in his laptop. So if he didn't win that episode, you were going to walk away with his laptop, and then he couldn't lay down his beats or whatever.
No,
it's not. It had a lot of the spirit, and like Ron was great, and Lisa Lampanelli was great, and even Reggie Watts was pretty funny. But it was just, if you took Dallas to the UK and made it a half-hour show,
square peg round hole. They just try to fit too much into a smaller. That's an interesting take on it. Okay.
I think with like Americans love podcasts, everyone listens to 6 podcasts. But if we put those same people talking around the desk or whatever on TV, nobody in America would watch that, whereas everyone in the UK watches 3 of them. So I think the comedians the UK comedians at least having a way to kind of have a brand in people's head already would helped it succeed a little bit. Whereas, maybe people watching on Comedy Central when it was an American show kind of knew Ron Funches a little bit from when he was on, New Girl that once, but not much else.
But there was more history with the UK.
I think.
So have you gotten, since they're all comics, did you get to meet new comics and did you follow up and watch their stand-up or?
Yeah. Especially seasons 12, 13, 14, there's a lot of comedians with, they have stuff on Prime. Chris Ramsey was on 12, and he's got a Prime special that was great. Fern Brady, we found out about because of this, who's a Scottish woman who's kind of had her. She's somewhere on the autism spectrum, and she talked about Taskmaster as being a place where she could just put all that stuff on full display and not have to have a sad story about how she got diagnosed with autism, but instead just be like, well, here's how this works for me, and here's where it didn't.
Okay.
And she has a special on Prime, which is just all killer stuff.
So Fern Brady, and who was the other one?
Chris Ramsey.
Because I have another podcast where we talk about women comics, and those sound like two women comics.
Chris is a fella. But
Chris is a fella? I'll watch him anyway. What the heck?
Fern, Fern's a lady. Love Fern.
Okay.
Fern has
hilariously, Lori might have already picked Fern, but then what I can do is I can introduce her as a thing, and Laura Kilmartin will say, "We've already done her, Jackie," and I'll be like, "Okay, well,
5 years ago, Jackie."
Yes, exactly.
I listen to your podcast too. Yeah.
Oh, do you listen to Jackie Laurie? Do you know Roisin Conati or Conati?
Roisin Conati. I think she says Roisin Conati. She's a person we found out from Would I Lie to You and 8 out of 10 Cats does Countdown and stuff like that.
Has she been on Taskmaster?
She was on the first season. And one thing I would recommend for folks, if they're not sure if they'd like Taskmaster at all, the first filmed task of the first season,
is eat as much watermelon as you can. You have 1 minute. And Roisin walks in, and they have this room in the house they call a lab, which is sort of a room with nothing but a white table, and it's got plastic sheeting on the wall.
Thank God.
And two of the comedians, I think 3 of the comedians, smashed the watermelon and just started eating it with their hands. One guy who ended up winning the season, but not that show, just walked out and got a knife and a spoon and he started eating it. Roisin walks in. Her time starts now. She's looking at a whole watermelon with just big eyes like, what do I do? And she walks out of the room for like 30 seconds of her minute and comes back with tools, and she ate a bite, but she just didn't give herself time to do anything. It was a real that's on an
was
episode
there tension?
called,
was there tension while you were like, you gotta, how are you?
Well,
you should.
One of the guys, Romesh Raghunathan, he's come to America, which doesn't mean you know it.
Okay.
He smashed the watermelon on the floor and then basically made himself sick eating it. And then another guy smashed it, and he ate a little bit after his time was up, so he was the first cheater on Taskmaster.
Ooh, cheaters. Mm-hmm.
So the first task, you get to see all of the things, people reacting in 50 different ways. Well, 5 different ways, I guess. But yeah, Roisin is great.
And so is there the most, is this a guy who had 165 points? Is that the most points anyone's ever had?
What did I tell you?
James Acaster?
Yeah, James Acaster, which if you don't know, if you have Netflix and you haven't watched his special called Repertoire, I think you would really like it. It's 3 of his, basically 3 of his Edinburgh shows.
Okay.
And then a 4th show where he incorporates jokes from all of those 3 shows as if it's real, I guess.
Okay.
One of them in the show, he's an undercover cop.
Right.
One of them in the show, he's on a jury, and all the jokes are about that. I don't remember but we were always Acaster fans from Repertoire, and then on his season, which was the 7th season, he got 165 points. Which I only said to say, I think the winner of that got 175 or 177 points. So he came in 4th. He was 2nd from the bottom, but he was so close to.
Wow.
He was 2 perfect tasks from winning. To win the whole thing. But he had a real silly, wild energy. And I've always
he brought it to all of those tasks. Sally Phillips, is she a comic?
Sally Phillips is a comedic actress, and if you've watched through, Year of the Rabbit on Year of the Rabbit is a show with Matt Berry, where he plays like a Jack the Ripper era detective in London. And it's basically a comedy. It's basically a comedy about Victorian London. Sally Phillips is in that.
Wait a minute. What's it called?
Year of the Rabbit.
Hello.
His name is like
Year of the Rabbit. Sounds like it's right up my alley, which is
you would really
sad
like it.
Yet true. Yeah.
She's on that. She's stuff I thought she's on an episode or 2 of Midsummer Murders and stuff like that.
Okay. Yeah. Steady work.
She does hosting and stuff in the UK. She is having the most fun on Taskmaster, and you sort of went and she was on the podcast talking about a different season, but then she talked a little bit about her season. And I don't remember if it was between when she got the offer and between when she started, but very recently to when she got the offer to be on Taskmaster, her husband left her for a younger woman. So
she's just enjoying being around people who are being nice to her and just like having the time of her life and hugging people and
Yeah.
doing
She's
real weird
decided to
tasks.
double down. Just double
There's
down
a
on.
I'm watching the 5th season right now because when I need to be in a good mood, I watch Taskmaster.
Okay.
And
You just
and
it's got a lot of good rewatchability. Is that what you think?
Yeah, well, for me.
Yeah.
It's my favorite thing, and my wife likes it, so I'm never bugging her by having it on.
Right. She doesn't. Yes, fair enough. I've watched the Jumanji movie 4 times, so
Right.
We have one television. Okay,
there's a task in the 5th season where they're given a water cooler, and they're saying make a water cooler moment featuring this water cooler. And Sally Phillips, her solution to it is, I think they must make a costume where a actor is wearing the jug on the top of like a cardboard box.
Yeah.
She goes in the caravan, which is a feature of Taskmaster, and you can see them kind of banging in the caravan. So her water cooler moment is she has sex with the water cooler.
Okay. Why
that's
would
Sally
I mean that's gotta be low, because here's my thing. Improv is not easy to come up with something in the moment where you have to act.
The whole show is more or less improv.
It sounds
half improv
exact
and half physical dexterity.
Right. And I would think, are there a lot of sex jokes? Because it feels like that would be the go-to.
I would say no. Sometimes the art.
That's amazing.
Sometimes there's art tasks and dongs and boobs get drawn.
Sure.
Sometimes there's butt jokes, but as a whole, it's not sex jokes.
That's amazing. That means that these are people who are comfortable with themselves, so they can just do anything and it'll be interesting. That's the best improv I've ever seen, where it isn't necessarily. Sometimes it's hilarious, but it's always interesting, which I think is you got to go. That's where it should go every time. I've taken several improv classes. I'm not great at it. I'm better with a written word, but that felt like this. One of the tasks when I took a class is you had to go watch improv. And the safest I ever felt was watching Sean Conroy and Matt Besser do improv, because I felt safe. Like I never feared it was going to be gross or racist or anything or super mean. It was, at worst, it was going to be mildly interesting. That was going to be the biggest crime. So, that's awesome. I'm glad that makes me even want to watch it even more. And what about Desiree Birch?
So I put Desiree Birch on because I found her as a comedian since then, and she's really great. If you have, do you have BritBox there's a bunch of Desiree stuff on BritBox. She's on live at the BBC, and there's another stand-up one where you get to see her, and her stand-up is really great. She's, I think, the only American who's on the UK show. For reason, there's a couple comedians that have a little bigger following in the UK, and she's one of them. And she's just so funny. She's not physically capable, but she's being just really funny and super classy the whole show. She was on in one of the.
What do you mean she's not physically capable? Is she just out of shape, or is she physically abled differently?
No, there's doing things fast tasks, and there's so there one of the tasks in her season is you have to break a water balloon
and everything you get to throw at the water balloon to break it will cost you a certain amount of minutes, and then what am I trying to say? She spends thousands, hundreds of minutes throwing rubber duckies, forks.
I gotta open this door for this crazy barking dog.
For the dog. So she's throwing everything they have in the Taskmaster balloon breaking store at this, and it takes forever, and it's hilarious.
And it just keeps going.
There's one in that one where There's one in that one where you have to.
Can you tip your camera slightly different, Phil Krause? Just tip your camera a little bit. There we go. I don't necessarily just need to look at your eyebrows. So There we go. Thank you.
All right. There's one in that season where they have to ride a bike, and they can't stop the bike, and they have to put a hat on a mannequin and put a letter in a mailbox.
Jousting. And, some sort of crazy.
And only grab the blue ball from this bin of balls and like that. So it's
wow.
It's her, and she's just really funny and great. So
that's so awesome.
But look up Desiree Burch. She's worth finding as a comic of the week, if nothing else.
Right. There seems to be some great opportunities for some comics of the week here. What about Morgana Robinson?
She has a career in the UK that's mostly a impressionist and a character.
Character
person.
Actor? Yeah.
Like a character comedian, which, like, I don't know.
Oh, like Maria?
Like,
but different?
Yes.
Does she do voices and stuff?
Voices for sure.
Okay.
But, on the show, she's another person who's just having the best time. I'm trying to think of a Morgana task that I can. There's definitely one where she turns herself into a mermaid fountain with water shooting out of a bra. Or no? She's definitely a mermaid. I won't swear to water shooting out of a bra.
Okay, and what's a task that somebody you like, but it would be piracy to find more of his stand-up? A guy named John Kearns? What are his tasks?
So the John Kearns task, to give you the energy of John Kearns, is there's a task where there's a tarp in the driveway. Their task is they have to fold it up and put it in one of the containers provided. So there's like a bread box and a laundry basket and like a green wheelie garbage can.
Okay.
He picks the and then they have 5 minutes to do it.
Right.
He picks the green wheelie bin, and you can't look inside the thing before you start the task. There are like 8 red balloons or something in the green wheelie bin. He pulls them out, and then he stands there holding them for 80 seconds. Just with like a panicked, not even a panicked look on his face. Just like, what do I do with these? And then it's this like, he pauses. He has this like, he has this delivery.
What does he got to do with the
wheelie?
wheelie? What does he have to do with the green wheelie?
Put a big blue tarp in it.
Oh, but he has to do something with the balloons that he took out of it.
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
He can't leave a mess. So I think he probably ends up popping them and putting them in a thing, or he puts them in another container or something.
Right, or his pocket. If you bite a hole in a balloon, you can maybe.
But
weird tasks.
He's got this. He's just got this energy like you haven't really ever seen anybody before.
Okay, and then now we go back to the top of the page where you said that Richard Osman, Thursday Murder Club, guy is on series 2. And what was his non-lateral approach to a task?
So in series 2, their location task, they're in like I think a park. And the park has, so the task is they're at the bottom of the hill. There's 3 Pilates balls.
This might be the one that I did see. Okay, go ahead.
So there's 3 Pilates balls. You have to get them from the bottom of the hill to the top of the hill. And, they're as big as your torso or whatever. So everybody else is like struggling. And Catherine Ryan, who won that season, asked somebody to stay with them.
Okay.
So, good enough. Richard pulls out the plug and deflates him, kind of sits on him, and then he just carries him up and sets him down and deflate it. Never says you can't, but that's kind of the one where people cheating. There's a lot of loopholes and obviously
right. And if you can
you have to
find the loophole.
Right. You have to throw the potato into the garbage can, but you can't. You have to stay behind this line while you move the line. And stuff like that. So he's the progenitor of lateral thinking on the show. Okay, and 2 actors from the UK Ghost TV show that I also thoroughly enjoy. That's on Max.
Yeah. Used to be HBO Max. Keel Smith Benoit and Charlotte Ritchie.
I think they're I think they're the non-ghost couple. I think.
Oh, okay. So they're the actual owners of the mansion.
I believe so.
That's hilarious. Okay.
Kate is Katie Wicks on that show, or do you?
I don't know anybody's name, sadly.
Okay.
I will know so much about Taskmaster, by the way, when this show is over, for about an hour and a half. It's going to be great. I'm hoping to go in and put it on the TV. Yeah. I'm going to go in and put it on the TV for Chris, for my mom-in-law, and and if she falls in love with it, she will make us watch all of it. That's what we know.
Yeah. So even numbered, odd numbered series, I think, are the best. 5, 7, 9. Actually 14 is maybe my favorite, so that's not an odd number. Series 10, everyone on it is great, but they're also filming it the minute everybody got out of lockdown in the UK. So there's a little bit of sad dread in it. So maybe don't start with that one. But
start with season 5, maybe, or series 5, as they call them.
5 is a great place to start.
Okay.
5, 7, 9 are all those are my favorites.
12 and 14.
12, 13, 14 are maybe the best they've done.
Okay.
And 15 has Canadian Mae Martin. She ends up winning.
Okay. Oh, spoiler. Does anyone care if when there's nothing to win is what you should all know. And it's just mostly now everyone's heard of that comic. Right. So that's the good news. Phil Krause, it's been an hour. This is what I have to say is we're so close to an hour. Is there anything? So there's a New Zealand version, an Australian version, the USA version, of course. Yep.
Let me say just generally, if you end up watching Taskmaster, you don't have to know anything about anybody to enjoy watching Taskmaster. Because if you already love a comedian who's on it, you're going to love to see him on it, right? Obviously. But the tasks and the hosts and everything really work to
just to make it fun.
We've watched the Australian version and a lot of the New Zealand version, and I don't know who any of those people are, and they're great.
This is the definition of the Dork Forest, by the way. If you want to YouTube Google the words like a comic you love or a dorkdom you love, and you listen to that episode, you will enjoy that episode of the Dork Forest. But if you just listen to a random Dork Forest, good chance you're just going to enjoy it because it's about something that someone really likes. So
I find this to be true about the Dork Forest.
I, of course, made it about the Dork Forest, but I will also do that about Taskmaster. And I think I might just go put it on. She was watching The Chase. It can't possibly be worse than The Chase.
The guy from the UK Chase is on the Taskmaster season.
Okay. Well, there you go. That The Chase is also a multinational game show. Phil Krause of the Time Community Theater in Oshkosh. Time Community Theater. What?
Go to the Time.
Go to the Time.
In Oshkosh.
.com. And it's also a Facebook page. It's got a website. Fox Valley Comedy. Let's just plug that for Lyle. Lyle can be on another week. Lyle, I'm sure, has many dorkdoms. He gave me a hat with a Oshkosh image on it that I wear sometimes because I like a baseball hat. Thank you so much for doing the show.
Thank you for having me.
Hi, Adal. How was the show?
It was great. It was with Phil Krause, who I pronounced Krause.
Oh.
And then he corrected me and said it was Krause.
Right. And you got it right this time.
I did get it right this time.
Excellent.
He watched that Taskmaster show.
Oh yeah. The British sort of game show with the comics who have to go do crazy things.
Yes.
Yep.
And I thought I first heard of it, and this is some name dropping. Oh, I'm going to drop a name. Matt Fraction told me.
Oh yeah, that's right.
And I thought he was talking about Marvel because he's Matt Fraction.
Right.
It was not so. It was about, and it's comics. It's all stand-up comics, British
stand-up comics, and writers, because it was the writer of the mystery novels
that I enjoy,
the cozy mystery novels that you enjoy.
They aren't cozy.
They're kind of cozy.
Are they kind of cozy?
Yeah, they're kind of cozy mysteries.
All right. It feels like it belittles him a little bit, just because the Mini Muffin Murder Mystery is my least favorite book I've ever read.
Yeah, there are bad versions of all kinds of genres of books, right?
Shocking.
No one.
You guys, breaking news. Andy Ashcraft.
Right.
Some genres have...
Sturgeon's Law applies.
Sturgeon?
Sturgeon's Law?
Is that a fish?
No, well, yes, but it's also the name of a science fiction writer who famously said, 90% of everything is shit.
Oh, that feels pessimistic. Doesn't it?
I don't know. I feel like it's kind of optimistic.
10% of everything is great?
Yeah.
Except for that, there's also the sliding field of good to great.
Well, yes. Yeah, yes.
So I would say 2% is shit.
Oh, and
90, and I would say 90%.
And like 88% is passable?
Sure.
Okay.
Who's got a glass half full? This one. Right here.
Right there.
Wow. I have got my hair back, you guys. I'm going to be hanging some laundry later. That's what I look like. I look like everyone I grew up with who hung laundry. That's
you need to have a scarf around your neck.
Which is kind of what the headphones are doing for me.
True.
Phil Krause, though, fascinating. He rattling off the different things that they had to do that were silly.
Oh, yeah.
The different comics that he discovered through that show.
Oh, okay. That's good.
Yeah. He gave me ideas for Comic of the Week for the Jackie and Laurie show.
Oh, nice.
A woman named Fern Brady and a woman named Desiree Birch. And then somebody...
I wonder why we don't name girls Fern here in the U.S.
I don't know. It feels office-like.
Yes.
Possibly nobody wants to make somebody an administrative assistant from birth. Other people, you don't do it because of strippers.
Right.
Maybe Fern, you don't want someone to become an administrative assistant. I was an administrative assistant for easily 10 years. So
right.
There's nothing wrong with that job. And
I think many people go from administrative assistant straight into stand-up comedy.
Interesting. It's a gateway drug, you guys. It's because you're driven mad by the shenanigans that is The Office.
That's right.
And all of a sudden you're in. But Phil Krause, he owns the Time Community Theater in Oshkosh, Wisconsin, where they did the Ed Gein, the musical.
Yes.
That everyone thought it was The Edge. It was about, they thought it was the Bruce Springsteen or U2 guy, The Edge. Because the Ed Gein was all smushed together.
It was all smushed together, so it was like Edge, Ein.
Yeah, the Edge in
Weird.
a musical is what it sounded like. And since he's a musician,
Right.
Yeah, it was weird. Very nice man, and a super fun episode. And I recommend everyone go back and listen to it again.
Oh, all right. What was that? Give me a highlight.
Oh, I had the first film task of the first season.
Oh,
was his favorite one, and your mama and I watched the first season.
Yep.
And she giggled, and I giggled, and it was
giggles all around.
It was giggles all around. There was one thing, like Richard Osman, the guy who does the Thursday Murder Club.
Yes.
He there was no rule. Like you had to essentially roll 3 Pilates balls up a hill.
Okay.
So he deflated them. It didn't say you had to roll them. You just had to get them on top
get
of
get them up the hill. But no.
Yeah.
But he's the only one who thought, well, why don't I just deflate them and carry them?
Yes. He literally is the king, what is now known as the king of the lateral win on Taskmaster. Sadly, only first season is on Netflix.
Oh, really?
Yeah, the rest of it is some sort of VPN cheater thing.
Interesting, because I know that you've seen some of it before.
It's on YouTube.
A couple years ago.
Short-lived
I see.
YouTube and then pulled down.
I see.
And I would like to do it.
Yes.
Because it looks like the people are having the most fun.
Right.
I don't know. But for some reason, 16 seasons. I bet you that reason, it's almost free to make. It's one of the cheapest things I've ever seen.
Well, right.
Yeah. And it probably pays each comic $1,000.
And each of the comics is on on for the full season, right?
Right. So there might be 10 grand in it for a comic.
Right.
Though my friend Roisin, who's British and was on the first season, she was only on like two or three episodes of the 10.
Oh, really?
That was weird, right?
Well, yeah, but I mean, maybe she just had road work that got in the way or whatever. Maybe it pays really a lot less than you think it is.
You know the truth, my love.
I feel it.
You guys, it's a great episode. And by the way, at the end of this one, I forgot to say this, so I'm going to say it now. You know the rules out there. Take care of each other.
My hat. They're dancing around my hat. My hat. Well, what do you think of that? If it looks like a Mexican hat dance and it sounds like a Mexican hat dance, it's most likely a Mexican hat dance. So take off your hat and let's dance.
Yay! Oh my God. Why don't we just call that as the end of the show?